tell us about Pirate Camp?
Pirate boot camp.
Pirate boot camp. I didn't do pirate
I
boot
also
camp.
didn't do it.
I'm of a
I like
certain
that one
age
a lot.
where they go, no, we don't want to kill Mark Ryan before he's actually gone to shoot. So I was excused all that. You did pirate boot camp.
I did. I did Pirate Camp. Pirate Camp was awesome. It was really fun. It took place in Cape Town, in and around the studio, and the minute we got there, basically, the first thing that happened was your stunt assessment and your physical assessment, and those were really interesting because they're basically assessing how much you're going to be able to do and how much the doubles are going to need to do. And I was lucky enough to get assessed pretty well, and then we kind of moved on from that to a training regiment and the actual stunt training and the fight choreography training and the sword work, which was awesome. Then we started working on the looks, like what they're going to be doing with your hair and your makeup. And then we went out sailing. We went out sailing in a boat a couple of times, which was really cool. We got to learn to tie knots and some of the stuff like that out on the boat, which was really cool. And then kind of from there, it just turned into absolute, like, let's get into the best shape that any person's ever been in. And we worked on that for a while. And then we continued to work on like our accents and whatnot. So really, what it was just a great month to play and learn and define what this was going to be and what you were going to be doing for the rest of the year. So it was a blast.
What have you guys filmed already that you're really excited for viewers to see? What have you guys already filmed that you're most excited for viewers to see?
Black Sails.
Wow.
That's a really hard question.
The fun thing about the show is it's not all just about blowing ships up and running around. There's a lot of serious emotional drama going on. What I think glues this show together, set within this world that's been created, is the dynamic between the characters, the relationships, the political relationships between the captains, the quartermasters, the people who are financing this. The characters themselves are very engaging and at times literally at each other's throats. So some of the bigger drama scenes, I think, are riveting, and it's talking to some of the producers, they've said there's one episode where there's actually very little actual action. It's all interplay dynamics between the characters verbally and the tension between the characters. And they said, but it's riveting because they've set it up because of this clash of personalities and desires and dreams and political ambitions. The drama's still riveting, even though we're not necessarily blowing up ships every 2 minutes. And that, I think, is going to be a revelation for
What is your favorite part of each of our characters? Like, what do you enjoy most about it?
Of our own characters or other people's characters?
I was thinking your own characters.
I just think personally, I just think the philosophy, of how Charles Vane sees the world, is what I like the most about him. I just said it before, but my father used to say to me when I was a kid that if you take what you're given, you deserve what you get. And Charles Vane does not take what he's given; he takes what he wants, and that's, I think, the thing that I like the most about him.
I think with Max, I love the way that she slips in between vulnerability and strength. I mean, she's really a girl who goes through a tremendous amount and big changes in the first season and spends a lot of time defending herself, and she's in a very precarious place that she has to figure out, okay, how am I going to make this situation work for me? And I like that she is constantly having to put on a face to try and hide these, things that are happening to her. I love her strength in that, and I love when I can find those moments where it's like, God, I just want to break down and cry here, and I'm not going to do that. So I like the struggle of that.
Gates is an absolute gift to any actor. particularly in our business now, to be given this broad canvas to paint on this character. He gets to be funny, he gets to be manipulative, he gets to be angry, he gets to be violent, he gets to be all of these different aspects of a character, which is gratifying to play. You're not just singing one song emotionally, you're not just playing one avenue or aspect of a personality. Gates plays them all of these little aspects. And so for me, it was an absolute joy. Each episode had something that was different, that had not been revealed previously. But the humour and the camaraderie between the characters and the dynamic between the characters gave me a chance to play all these different aspects. And so for me, it was an absolute pleasure.
I have a question for Mark. Since you didn't go to pirate camp,
Yes.
how did you prepare for your role?
I've been in the sword and action side of things for about 30 years. I've choreographed big films myself, like King Arthur. I trained Keira Knightley. I trained Mads Mikkelsen. I trained the Stellan Skarsgård. The sword side of it, the action side of it, I knew very well. But because when you get to a certain age, they're worried about you having a heart attack and keeling over. It's time to hand over the sword swinging and all of that to these guys, And Mr. Gates is now allowed to sit back as the elder statesman of the pirates and let them go hatcheting to people, to smithereens, and I get to watch. You know what I mean? I do get into a little bit of action, but it's. I've been doing it a long time. I've done lots of strange, weird sports, jumping out of airplanes and scuba diving and chasing things about. So I've done a lot of physical things. So I was happy to sit back and let the young bucks here, my young comrade here, throw himself into the stabbing knife.
Well, he's being he's being nice. You should see him. Well, you'll see it when it comes out. He's quite capable with the sword and doesn't need much training. In fact, he could have been teaching at pirate camp. So.
Very true. Very true.
Thank you.
So when it comes to pirate things, there's the stereotypical kind of pirate talk. But how did you guys, for Black Sails, find your pirate voice?
Wow, interesting.
Well, I'd been working on it my entire life, and I had it ready for the moment that I've been waiting for an opportunity to do what I'm getting to do in this show, and I've been working on it for my entire life, literally. And I think when I was a kid, and when I decided that I was going to be an actor years and years ago, I was like, it's going to be very important to be able to do different accents, and I should start working on this right now. And that was like second grade, so.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, mine was, I don't play a pirate, but a general pirate voice. I specifically play a woman who is French. So I did an enormous amount of dialect training with a coach here, and then I coach in South Africa. I'm Canadian, so growing up in Canada, because our country is bilingual, I went to a French immersion school growing up, so I am able to speak French, not as well as I used to be, though. So I think it was easier for me to slide into that, but to get the proper Parisian sound, and then I'm surrounded by people with British accents all the time, so we had to try to kind of make that work. It took a little while to figure out exactly where it needed to fit, and then I think we have something that works really well now that's French, but still that people can understand what I'm saying, which is obviously the most important.
Wow. During the first read-through, because I've done a lot of musical stuff, I like to hear the tonal range of all the voices and how people are going to actually present their characters. And I actually had not really got much of an idea about it. I wanted to hear what everybody else was going to do and where it was going to place, and then I'd place it somewhere in there. And Neil had actually come to me, because I've lived in New York and Montreal and Dublin and all over the place. I have a very peculiar but specific Yorkshire accent. And he said, and I didn't know what I was going to do with that. He said, keep your own accent. So what I did was basically use most of my own voice and just brought it down a little bit down here when I needed to be quiet, to give it a bit of an edge.
You pirated
very
it up.
pirated.
Yeah, it was
but I wanted to find this tonal place that it fit within the range of voices that we had in the show. so it would plug in and not sound like we're all doing the same thing.
I think that's actually a really important point. The idea of we do read-throughs as a cast, and I think it's a really important thing. And not all shows do that, but to really see what everyone's going to do really helps with that, and you get a sense of whether you're being too broad for the show or whether the tone of it's all going to work just by sitting there and going, okay, this, and you know what? We did the first read through, and we all came out and we were like, this is going to be
great. We were so excited.
A really good show. And we were like, did you just see that? Like, we were all like, oh my god, this is good, because it's good when you read it, but then when you see it come alive, because the read through is
it did. Every character felt very specific right from the first read through, which it was like, oh, there's color in this. This is great.
Questions for Zach. You've been on Shameless for several seasons, and now this is like a different change of pace. How was that adjustment for you? Were you excited to be doing something totally different?
You know, I think as actors, we're all excited to be working, and I'm no exception. You know, it's been a long road, so to me, when I'm working, it's a happy thing. Transitioning from Shameless to Black Sails was crazy. I mean, I was in Chicago putting myself on tape for this project, shooting Shameless, and then ended up coming to Africa like 3 days later. So I had no time. I literally went home and came here. But it's been a dream come true getting this role, because to be honest, this has been the kind of thing that I've been waiting to play this kind of role for a long time, and I have never been given the opportunity. And as amazing as my experience on other shows has been, there's just something very unique about Black Sails, and I'm really excited to see episode 2, because I just got to see 1 and I'm dying to see 2.
Yeah, I know, I feel the same way. I feel the same way.
One more question.
Jonathan and Robert, talk a lot about wanting to be more historically accurate with pirates. I'm just wondering for you guys, what surprised you when you started learning the real deal with pirates, what they were actually about?
I think we all went away and did our own personal research. I mean, I already knew a lot about the history of it. I've read several books about it for various reasons, and the part that I wanted to bring into the characters they allowed me to do was the esoteric linkages between privateers, pirates, and the secret Masonic groups like the Knights Templar. And so that's why I've got this tattoo on the back of my head and hold fast on my hands, all that kind of stuff. And that was an element that I wanted to bring into the character, which also they wanted to bring into the show. This sort of, character Gates goes at some points, he goes to an Obaya shrine when he's talking to Messiah, and he pays reverence to that shrine and respects that spiritual belief system. And I thought that was, very smart of them to bring in those other multicultural aspects to it, but also to show the characters as they would have been interacting in those different ways. So I thought that was, again, a great historical thing just to drop into it, like a little gem, just to go, oh, and by the way, not only we got this, there's that as well. And that was great. They've done a great job with their historical research. They really have.
All right, guys, we have to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.